We just got a new mobile game announced, and it might be one of the most demanding mobile games we've ever seen. What's up guys, Jaboosle here, back with a brand new mobile gaming video. And no, the game that you were probably thinking of is not Warzone Mobile. I know a lot of people will hear demanding mobile game and think that it's Warzone Mobile, but no. This game is actually coming from PC and consoles, and this game here is actually called Grid Legends. You probably recognize that name, Grid. There is another mobile game that has that name, of course, that one being Grid Autosport. That is one of the previous games in this franchise. This one is the latest entry in the Grid franchise, and originally it was only on PC and consoles. However, it is now officially coming to mobile. But don't get too excited until you see the system requirements for this game. It's honestly pretty crazy. But anyway, to give you guys a little bit of context for this franchise, Grid is known as, one of the more realistic and one of the more visually impressive looking racing games on mobile. On PC and consoles, you do have, other options that are a little bit more realistic or a little bit better in terms of being a racing simulator and stuff. But for mobile, this is pretty much as good as it gets. A lot of the racing games on mobile are very arcadey and stuff. So if you want something that's a bit more realistic, this is pretty much as good as it gets. Based off of the little promo trailer that they have on the App Store, it looks like we are going to be getting a pretty visually good looking game. I mean, that's pretty much to be expected. Again, Grid Autosport was a very visually, good looking game. And it looks like we're also going to be getting some mobile specific features, such as, of course, those touch controls. They do look like they're remappable. So we are going to be able to, make certain button sizes bigger or move them around and stuff like that. That's going to be really cool too and stuff. However, there is a price tag when it comes to these type of games, of course. The original Grid Autosport, I believe, was like $10, maybe $8 or $9 when it would go on sale and stuff like that. Grid Legends, however, is coming in at $14.99 US. So if you do want this game, you are going to have to pay about $15 for it. Honestly, that's not a bad price. You have to remember these games are pretty complete. You don't have to buy, battle passes and grind until you can unlock the next car or whatever. A lot of the content is just available to you right off the bat. And on top of that, again, these are very high quality games directly from PC and console, so that's why they come with that price tag. Now, the main thing that I think is going to turn people off about this game, though, despite some of those redeeming qualities, is the system requirements. Honestly, again, just to reiterate that intro, this is one of the most demanding mobile games I think we have ever seen. On Android, it is saying that at launch, they're only going to be supporting 2 Android chipsets, that being the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. That basically means that you need to have a flagship Android from 2023 and 2024, and that's it. You can't use any other Android devices. If you've got a 3-year-old Android, for example, well, too bad. You don't have a good enough device according to the system requirements of this game. On the iOS side of things, it's still pretty high, the system requirements. However, they are supporting a bit more devices than just Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and 8 Gen 3 on the Android side of things. On iPhone, they are going to be supporting iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, and then basically 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, and then 14 going forward. So essentially what they're saying is that they're going to support iPhones that have at minimum 6 gigabytes of RAM. The 12 Pro series, the 13 Pro series, they all have 6 gigs of RAM, and then I think the iPhone 14 series and onwards all come standard with 6 gigs of RAM. So basically, if you've got one of those iPhones, you can play this game. And then on the iPad side of things, it's pretty much saying that you're going to need an iPad with an M1 chip or better, which is kind of crazy too, because a lot of people are still on, the iPad 9th gen or the iPad 10th gen or whatever. And so it's kind of crazy. I know a few people, for example, that have the iPad mini 6th generation, and that doesn't have an M1 chip. So even though that tablet is really, really good for gaming, it's not going to be able to play this game. So that is why I made that statement where I said that this is quite possibly one of the most demanding mobile games we've ever seen. There are a couple of other examples that are like this, or games that are only available on, for example, iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, or 16 Pro and Pro Max and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of the more demanding mobile games that is going to be available on both Android and on iOS, and I don't think people are going to be happy with it, if I'm being completely honest, especially on the Android side of things. I know a lot of people are probably going to be complaining about the fact that you need essentially just a 1 to 2 year old flagship, and that's it. I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset with that, but I think this is an ongoing trend. I think there are a lot of mobile games nowadays that are starting to sort of, I guess, let go of some of the lower to mid-range device support and are starting to focus purely on these higher end devices. Obviously, we've seen this a ton with those AAA games that came out exclusively on iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, Resident Evil, Death Stranding, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and stuff like that. Unfortunately, those games have sold very, very poorly. I made a video about it. They have not sold well at all. But it seems like developers are still doing this. They're still basically focusing only on higher end devices, and honestly, I'm not quite sure why. I know for them it's probably a lot easier when it comes to, optimization and stuff like that. Obviously, we have seen the struggles of these higher end games trying to support anything below high end devices. Obviously, Warzone Mobile is probably the best example to use in that, but I also feel like there are other PC/console games that have been able to successfully come to mobile and not have such high system requirements. For example, Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Tower of Fantasy. We have Delta Force coming out soon, and that has been running really well on lower to mid-range devices and stuff. So I'm not quite sure what is going on here, because for some games and some developers, it feels like, the system requirements just have to be super high. But then for other games that are in a similar sort of category, they have no problem supporting a variety of different mobile devices and stuff. Maybe the system requirements will be lowered after Grid Legends launches on mobile. Maybe, they will add more devices in the future and stuff like that. But so far, I don't know. I don't know. I personally do not think that there will be many people playing this game at launch with such high system requirements with that $15 price tag and stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you planning on getting this game? What do you think of these system requirements at the price tag? Very interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it. But with all of that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Subscribe, motherfucker.